Hello, it's a lovely good evening. Welcome to Camnet Television News. My name is Jeffrey Ziambo. Our top stories in the news tonight: PF's Brian Mundubile calls on the UPND to have a human face when dealing with sensitive issues. Gears to challenge BOWMAN LUSAMBO and Joe MALANJI'S eligibility to recontest the by-election. President Hakainde Hichilema thanks the church for supplementing government's efforts in education and health. In international news, Kenya's RAILA ODINGA announces legal action. And in sports news, LEEDS continue their unbeaten start to the season as they beat Chelsea by 3-0.
Are you a business organization or an individual with a dream to register your presence in Zambia and around the world? Waste no time, because Camnet Television is offering an opportunity to sponsor any of the following programs: the main news, national matters, breakfast show, the verdict, partnership of greatness, economic briefcase, business and sports news. For more details, call following numbers. Camnet Television, not just another channel.
Our dear Camnet family, on the 22nd of August at 20:30 hours, I'm hosting Honorable Gary Kombo, the Minister of Local Government.
The agenda is not an overnight sensation. It has never been. And we are just praying that the Zambian people are going to hold our hands to find solutions together rather than by our own selves. And part of what requires to happen is for people to be patient.
Join me on national matters. Should you have a question to ask in advance, forward it to 0962 965 883. I am your host, Pastor Chiluba. God bless Zambia.
Make a date with us. Camnet TV, not just another channel.
Hello once again, another news in detail. A 35-year-old woman of Lusaka's Lilanda Township in Matero constituency says she is living in fear of losing her life every day due to a heart complication that she developed 3 years ago, adding that it has also led to her stomach enlarging. In an interview with Camden News, Loveness Hakomola says she is on fluid-reducing tablets from the University Teaching Hospital UTH, but states that she is sometimes only given prescriptions on the basis that the hospital is out of the said medicine, leaving her destitute as the tablets can cost as much as 500 kwacha per course. This is despite Zambia aiming at providing easy access to quality health care for all by 2030, as enshrined under the goal number 3 of the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, SDGs. More in this report.
Access to quality health care is a basic human right, as it hinges on the well-being and productivity of individuals. It is in this regard that developing countries like Zambia are striving to attain this, hence committing to the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, with goal number 3 aiming at providing easily accessible quality health care for all by 2030. With only 8 years till the target, indicators in the country show that efforts will need to be enhanced if the target is to be attained, as some citizens are still struggling to access this service. A case in point is a 35-year-old woman of Lilanda compound in Lusaka's Matero constituency, Loveness Hakamola, who says her heart started enlarging 3 years ago, along with that her stomach, rendering her immobile. Ms. Hakamola explains that she has been on treatment from the University Teaching Hospital UTH, but is sometimes left destitute when she only receives a prescription after being told that the medicine has run out at that particular time.
Nikaenda ku hospital ni ma appointment pena ngo nikaenda ni vanile mbele cha beka pepa kuti kapepa ko kaguleni munkwala manje onitandizira kuti nigule munkwala nilibe ndalama zakaenda zogula munkwala wakaena ogula nuwodula ndrama manilembera kuti kaguleni pena ngopeza tuwaenda mu drugs okwenda ogula munkwala atuwe munkwala mwemufuna etani 500 so mani pempa kotandizo konitandizirapo nilipe kochosa ndrama ninkala chape nilipe vochita vili vonse.
Meanwhile, a medical doctor, Teddy Mulenga, has explained the medical condition.
So the swelling of the abdomen is due to the fluids, water settling. It's called ascites in the abdomen because the heart is not got enough power to pump the fluids around. That's the cause of the swelling of the abdomen. As far as treatment is concerned, we give water reducing tablets like Lasix, Moduretics, okay, which sometimes even reduce the blood pressure. So those are the tablets we use to reduce the load on the heart.
Ending inequalities in the country will not only mean ensuring that citizens have access to food, but also ensuring that they have equal opportunities in accessing quality health care. Zipporah Mshala, Camnet News, Lusaka.
National Democratic Congress NDC faction President Samoei Imboela has urged political parties to consider adopting women in the upcoming parliamentary elections for Kwacha and Kabushi constituencies. In an interview, Ms. Imboela notes that men have continued dominating the space in adoptions, which will make it hard to achieve the 50-50 gender representation in Parliament. She has further challenged women to rise up and show interest in participating in politics if they are to be included, unlike complaining from the sidelines. Residents of Kabushi and Kwacha constituencies will go to the polls on Thursday, the 15th of September 2022, following the nullification of the seats recently by the courts of law on the basis of election anomalies.
Well, in terms of our by-elections, definitely we would love to see as many women as possible. But I'll be honest with you, as a leader in a political party, I also know the challenges that political parties face in terms of nominating women. There are bigger parties, of course, like the UPND and the PF. They should take advantage and do get women. But you find that other parties, like ourselves, sometimes we normally have a challenge of women coming forth, you know. So you find that maybe in a by-election, once it has been announced, maybe you would have maybe, let's say, 4 or 5 candidates. All of them will be men, you know. And the elections is about people being prepared, being ready for that. And we've managed to go out there, ask women to say, are you able to stand and everything? But it has been very difficult. So women normally don't avail themselves for leadership. You know, they don't avail themselves for leadership. So those parties that are going to have women coming forth to be nominated, let them take advantage and adopt women, you know. But for me, in as much as I'm saying the party should adopt women, I'm also posing this challenge to women to say, most of you have got what it takes, but it's a courage, it's a confidence that you don't have. So be as courageous as the men are. Avail yourselves for leadership. We need women in this country. We really, really need women. So let's take advantage of these by-elections that are coming up so that some of you stand and you get voted into office just in the next coming by-election.
The United Party for National Development, UPND National Deputy Youth Chairperson Trevor Mwinde has challenged the former ruling Patriotic Front, PF, to formally lodge their complaints to the relevant authorities against the current administration if they feel they are being unfairly targeted. In an interview, Mr. Mwinde says that the current administration is tirelessly working to restore sanity in the country, which he charges has been absent in some sectors for many years now. The youth leader has cited the police service as one of the sectors the current administration is restoring professionalism in by ensuring that vices such as police brutality are phased out. He was responding to allegations from PF Media Director Antonio Mwanza that the current administration has clearly lost its fight against corruption in the country and is targeting at destroying the Patriotic Front.
If you are to go to the political violence that which occurred, we saw men being paraded naked, being taken in a police van. We saw people that were assaulted, being beaten. Even when you are assaulted, you are even being locked up. We saw people, PF cadres, collecting monies from marketeers. We saw PF cadres collecting monies from the owners of the car washes around the country. We saw PF cadres wearing police uniform. Even up to now, we call upon, in fact, the IG, the Inspector General of Police, to revisit the people that are serving as civilian policemen, because the other people are hiding in the pretext that they are civilian policemen, robbing people, robbing unsuspecting citizens and outsiders. We saw Chinese people being crowned as a policeman, wearing commissioner's uniform out of just payments. These matters must be investigated before the SEC. Actually, we as citizens, we are just monitoring. We are now 1 year as a new Dawn administration, as UPND youths.
Patriotic Front presidential hopeful Brian Mundubile has condemned the demolition of the houses, among other structures, in Chingola, describing it as unfortunate. In an interview, Mr. Mundubile, who is also a Mporokoso Member of Parliament, says the United Party for National Development should not find pleasure in people suffering. Mr. Mundubile also notes that the government, through the local authority, should have found amicable ways of dealing with the matter with a human face. Meanwhile, Chingola constituency Member of Parliament Chipoka Mulenga spoke to Camnet TV in a telephone interview on the matter, describing it as unfortunate and that he sympathizes with the victims. More in this report.
Saturday, 20th of August 2022, families of Kasompe area in Chingola, Copperbelt province watched helplessly as their dwelling places they called home for some time got demolished by the Chingola Municipal Council. In the operation, over 300 structures illegally built on Kasompe airstrip, a land on title and belonging to the Zambia Civil Aviation Authority, were brought down, according to the council. In February 2022, an enforcement notice for the developers to suspend all works within a period of 28 days as required under the provisions of Section 49(1) and 2 of the Urban and Regional Planning Act No. 3 of 2015 of the laws of Zambia was issued. However, this notice fell on deaf ears. Commenting on the matter, Opposition Patriotic Front presidential hopeful Brian Mundubile is saddened by the situation in Chingola, describing it as a clear sign that the UPND administration does not care for the poor people.
We wish to condemn those acts and call upon the UPND government that once again, can they begin to have a human face when dealing with these delicate matters. It's not to rule by the text, even if it means you're going to kill all your citizens and you want to appear good and follow your textbooks. Put on a human face, understand the circumstances. How else can we do this? Is there another way? If somebody built a house in the middle of the road, maybe my position would be different. But you're talking about having built properties in an area which is disused, a disused runway, that is not even being utilized at the moment. And what would be most unfortunate, as we know our friends in the UPND, not very long from now, you will see a so-called investor, some rich white fellow, will be given that property to begin to develop.
Mr. Mundubile also questioned where the council was for people to erect structures on illegal land.
What I think the councils must do, they must not take pride and pleasure in causing pain on others, especially the poor people. The council must now build capacity to step up efforts. The inspectorate departments of the council must take steps to enhance capacity in those areas, such that even before construction, even before the allocation of these plots are done, the inspectorate is able to nip it in the bud, and thereby saving money from innocent people, poor people, unsuspecting public. You can imagine that most of those proceeded under the belief that they were getting plots from legitimate sources. It was up to the council to ensure, it's up to the council now to ensure that the innocent purchasers of land for value are not victims in the end. Those that sold them those plots, who ideally maybe even be councillors living under the UPND today, got the money and they're happy with that money. They've built houses elsewhere.
Meanwhile, Chingola constituency Member of Parliament Chipoka Mulenga, who is in Nigeria on national duty, says he will ensure that land illegalities in his constituency are a thing of the past.
I've learned the development that has happened in Chingola. For a long time, yes, people have built in wrong areas and everything, demolitions have happened, but the people who allocate plots in wrong places have never been held accountable. And our administration and me as member of parliament in my area, as much as the allocation of plot and demolition does not sit under the jurisdiction of the member of parliament, but I wish to engage the council and the people so that whatever misallocation or wrong activities should just be brought to an end now. But the question that we should just act proactively is, when people start building, where are we and who is giving the plots? But ultimately, allow me first to go on the ground and interact with my people and see how best I can support them while they are going through this challenge.
Sharon Kalimbola, Camnet News.
Meanwhile, Mr. Mundubile says the Patriotic Front has no doubt BOWMAN LUSAMBO will be on the ballot as to recontest his lost seat in Kawushi on the 15th of September 2022. The lawmaker says the PF has done all the background work, expressing confidence of returning the seat. Mr. Mundubile notes that if indeed the UPND is confident of their position on the ground, let them allow the electoral laws to control the situation and see who emerges victorious.
Well, we've perused the law. We've perused the law and we've come to a conclusion that BOWMAN LUSAMBO qualifies to stand. We don't even want to entertain a thought of an alternative because the law is very clear. Comrade BOWMAN LUSAMBO qualifies. And if at all the UPND government, as they've always wanted people to make believe that it's a government that believes in the rule of law, let BOWMAN LUSAMBO stand. Allow BOWMAN LUSAMBO to stand. Do not bend the law. Do not manipulate the law to stop BOWMAN from standing. This is a democratic country, right? The people have the right to choose. If the UPND believe they're strong, that's a testing ground. Let's go to Kawushi and see who is who. Let them be clear to face BOWMAN LUSAMBO in Kawushi, and the people of Kawushi must decide.
GEAR's initiative has warned the Patriotic Front against abrogation of the Constitution by allowing Joseph Malanji and BOWMAN LUSAMBO to recontest their lost seats. GEAR's Initiative Executive Director McDonald Chipenzi says the decision by the Patriotic Front to adopt the trio, whose elections were nullified by both the High Court and Constitutional Court, will force the institution to invoke Article 2 of the Constitution in defending, resisting, or preventing PF from overthrowing, suspending, or illegally abrogating the Constitution of Zambia. He notes that by the fact that the Constitutional Court upheld the High Court ruling that nullified their elections on account of corruption and malpractice and non-possession of the Grade 12 Academic Qualification Certificate, using backdoors to recontest by-elections is undermining electoral integrity and legitimacy. He says the nullification of their elections proved that the trio offended the provisions of the Constitution and prescribed code of conduct, which is not only a ground for vacating one's seat, but an offense punishable by law.
We want to put it on record that now that the Patriotic Front has officially announced the adoption of the three people whose elections were nullified on account of violence, corruption, malpractices, electoral malpractices, and also for non-possession or indeed production of the Grade 12 certificate as a prerequisite for nomination. We are going to challenge this decision in the courts of law. And we are going to trigger 2 articles of our Constitution, if not 3 or more. The first one is Article 2, that demands that we defend, we protect, we prevent, we resist anyone who wants to abrogate the Constitution by overthrowing it, suspending it, or indeed abrogating it. And what the Patriotic Front has done is basically offending the Constitution.
Zambia's Republican President Hakainde Hichilema has congratulated the Salvation Army Church for achieving a milestone of a century of selfless service to Zambia. Speaking when he addressed Salvation Army Church congregation at the showgrounds in Lusaka in celebration of its 100 years in Zambia, President Hichilema thanked the church for supplementing government's efforts in many areas such as education, healthcare, and community projects. The head of state says his government is ready to partner with church leaders in Zambia for the betterment of the people. Meanwhile, Salvation Army World Leader General Brian Pedo has encouraged church members to keep believing in God, who can do much more than they can imagine. More in this report.
The Salvation Army Church in Zambia has today, 21st August 2022, celebrated its 100 years of existence in Zambia in a colorful church ceremony held at the showgrounds in Lusaka. The celebration was attended by thousands of congregants as well as government officials, among them the Republican President Hakainde Hichilema, who was in the company of the First Lady Mutenta Hichilema. The event was characterized by different live performances from different groups within the Salvation Army. And Salvation Army World Leader General Brian Pedler, who presided over the service, thanked God for the 100 years of the church service and encouraged congregants to keep believing in God, who can do much more than they can imagine. And Zambia's Republican President Hakainde Hichilema has thanked the Salvation Army Church for its continued support in implementing government's effort in many areas such as education, health, and community projects.
To mention but only some of the Salvation Army's most notable achievements in this country over the years. One, I said it earlier, provision of medical care to areas such as Ibwe Munyama Clinic, as well as Chikankata Mission Hospital, which over years has saved a lot of our people when they're in need of medical services.
Prudence Chota reporting for Camnet TV News.
You're watching Camnet Television News. We'll take a break. We'll be back with more news.
It's census time. The 2022 Census of Population and Housing will be conducted from 18th August to 14th September 2022. The census collects a lot of data for use in various aspects of social and economic planning for the country. We are all required to participate in the census by being counted. You will be counted from your usual dwelling place by a census enumerator. Please receive and cooperate with the census enumerator and provide the required information when you will be visited. Your responses to the census questions will be treated with strict confidentiality and will be used for statistical purposes only.
Hi, I'm coming to count you.
Because everyone counts.
This message is brought to you by the Zambia Statistics Agency with support from the UNFPA.
Skin is the biggest muscle in your body. That's why we make sure that Oracle is #1 when it comes to taking care of your precious skin. Oracle Pure Petroleum Jelly and Glycerin soothes, moisturizes, and keeps your skin perfect. Oracle Pure Petroleum products for that perfect skin.
Our dear Camnet family, on the 22nd of August at 20:30 hours, I'm hosting Honorable Gary Nkombo, the Minister of Local Government.
The agenda is not an overnight sensation. It has never been. And we are just praying that the Zambian people are going to hold our hands to find solutions together rather than by our own selves. And part of what requires to happen is for people to be patient.
Join me on national matters. Should you have a question to ask in advance, forward it to 0962 965 883. I am your host, Kasa Chiluba. God bless Zambia.
Make a date with us. Camnet TV, not just another channel.
Welcome back. And now we continue with the news. Economist Kelvin Chisanga has challenged the current United Party for National Development UPND administration to introduce policies that will favor the tourism sector. In an interview with Camnet News, Mr. Chisanga says the tourism sector in Zambia has many great and underutilized potential that, if well harnessed, can largely contribute to revenue generation. Meanwhile, Mr. Chisanga says there is need for the government to also invest more resources in the agricultural sector to ramp up production that will see Zambia become a net exporter to agricultural produce. He says this will allow for more foreign exchange into Zambia, which will cushion the current liquidity challenges in the economy.
Tourism has a lot of standing potential, of which if the new government or the UPND government can actually gravitate good policies, or rather mature ideas that could actually help to revamp this sector, that will really help. Because obviously, when you look at the standing potential that tourism poses, it's quite vast, to a point whereby we can make economic goods out of this. And much more when you look at also the agriculture sector as being underplayed. The region, as we speak, has a number of key fundamentals in terms of consumption, of which it's standing on an appetizing demand. If the UPND government can look at trying to ramp up production in agriculture, do it much more in volume, I think that will really augment the need for us to actually have sufficient resources in this nation.
Golden Vocals Foundation has underscored the need for organizations to supplement government's efforts in cleaning the city by managing waste. Speaking when they collected waste at Tambalala Market in Lusaka's BOWMAN compound, Organization Business Development Manager Colin Muyakwa says charity services should be extended to keeping the environment clean, which will in turn help prevent the spread of diseases. Ms. Muyakwa further says her organization is willing to work with any organization that is willing to come on board and help collect garbage which has been indiscriminately disposed of in public places throughout the country. More in this report.
This illegal waste dump site at Katambala Market in Lusaka's BOWMAN compound has continued to be a health hazard, despite many efforts made in the past by former area member of parliament Margaret Mwanakatwe to clean up the place and sensitize members of the community and market traders to avoid dumping waste near trading places. To help mitigate the effect that comes with the indiscriminately waste disposal at this market site, Golden Vocal Foundation under the Seventh-day Adventist Church Sunday came on board to help clean the dump site. Organization Business Development Manager Colin Muyakwa says our organization is willing to partner with any institution that is willing to help keep the city clean by emptying dump sites.
That we need to keep a clean and healthy environment. Very soon we are going into the rain season. So we are basically partnering with whoever is willing to come on board. Our principles are connecting people to God. So whoever is willing to come on board, we are able to work with those people. Very soon we are going to have communicable diseases such as cholera through such unhygienic standards. So we said, no, let's go to that area of influence and do something about it. And we're hoping that by doing this, we can actually sensitize the people around us that we need to keep a clean and healthy environment.
Other group members have also charged that ministry should have social corporate responsibility, as it is one way of ministering to lost souls.
When you look at the days we are living in, you do not know what pandemic will come next. And so, having a clean environment is very imperative. Really, when you look behind me here, you see a lot of filthy that is not supposed to be near a marketplace where people come to buy their food.
We realize that we are a ministry, and as a ministry we should have what is called corporate social responsibility. And one of the corporate social responsibility is to reach out to the community, because as a ministry, through such, we can win souls. We have a lot of people who may be churchgoers, others are non-Christians, some are Christians, others are Adventists, some are Catholics, UCZ and forth. So
the effects that comes with emissions that are produced due to how much trash is generated affects us long term, as one can develop diseases such as asthma, birth defect, cancer, cardiovascular diseases, infectious diseases, low birth weight and preterm delivery, hence the need to ensure a clean environment. Prudence Chota, reporting for Camnet News.
The Zambia Cyber Security Initiative Foundation, ZCSIF, says the complicated reporting system when it comes to mobile money scams in Zambia is giving criminals leeway to perpetrate this vice as they have little to fear. In an interview, Foundation President John Sikisenki says the reporting system for financial crimes such as mobile money scams in Zambia currently involves the Zambia Police, the Zambia Information Communication Technology Authority ZICTA, and the Bank of Zambia, with majority of citizens lacking information on this reporting chain. Meanwhile, ZICTA Communications Manager Hanford Chaba says the authority is creating a collaborative framework on digital financial services which will simplify the reporting of various financial crimes. More in this report.
The coming of digital services has made it easier to conduct transactions as one can choose to use a bank or mobile money services. This has, however, not come without its challenges, as criminals have also devised ways to scam unsuspecting citizens out of their money. A common form of scam is that where criminals send mobile money text messages to unsuspecting citizens using their phone numbers and ask for money which was never sent to be returned to them, stating that they had sent it accidentally.
Indalama yafuma pa namba yen taifumine kuri ba Airtel ninshi. Yo still mo ifire yaisa mo missionary aba Airtel money.
Imwe ni number enu. That's a text message from you. So you are the same scammers. So number yi mushiba tuya talking about ZICTA manfa. You've sent to the wrong people or journalists. So just wait wala mikaka wala mchita trace number yi mlolo ife panono manfa. While such scams are commonplace with many people having fallen prey to them and lost their money, reporting such financial crimes is still a complicated process in Zambia. The reporting chain currently involves the Zambia Police, the Bank of Zambia, and the Zambia Information Communications Technology Authority, ZICTA. In an interview, Zambia Cyber Security Initiative Foundation President John Chisenki says this chain is discouraging people from reporting.
They should, if anything, get systems, software development systems that the capacity to try and track down criminals wherever they are. Because nowadays people can lose phones, and the people that steal phones, they are still using the same phones, even picking phones and transacting, using people stolen phones. So if we're able to get to that point, it will be able to sort out the problem that currently is been trending in Zambia.
Meanwhile, in a separate interview, ZICTA Communications Manager Hanford Chaba says the authority is working on simplifying the reporting.
So we've noted actually that there is that gap. So what we've done is we have actually developed what we call a collaborative framework on digital financial services. Now, a collaborative framework is a document which is going to outline, there are initiatives that are going to outline where you can report a scam. Let's say, for example, if you've lost money via mobile money, where do you go? Do you have to go to Bank of Zambia because they regulate the space? Do you come to ZICTA because we regulate the platform? Do you go to Zambia Police because they are the investigative wing? So the collaborative framework which we are launching in the next few weeks is going to help address all these overlaps and address this gap, thereby putting it clear to say, look, for this particular kind of offense, the starting point is here and the ending point is here.
It is hoped that this will help in bringing scammers to book in real time as a deterrent to those who may want to do the same. Zipporah Mshala, Camnet News, Lusaka.
We'll take our second and final break. We'll be back with international and the sports news.
Water is life. Each drop counts and each must be cherished. Our tried and tested product meets all international standards. With our smart drip technology, we aim to deliver precision irrigation designed to reduce blockage and wastage, ensuring a high yield. RenGlow, your smart irrigation partner.
Our dear Camnet family, on the 22nd of August at 20:30 hours, I'm hosting Honorable Gary Nkombo, the Minister of local government.
The agenda is not an overnight sensation. It has never been. And we are just praying that the Zambian people are going to hold our hands to find solutions together rather than by our own selves. And part of what requires to happen is for people to be patient.
Join me on national matters. Should you have a question to ask in advance, forward it to 0962 965 883. I am your host, Kasa Chiluba. God bless Zambia.
Make a date with us. Camnet TV, not just another channel.
Welcome back. And now in international news, a week after being declared second in the presidential race, Raila Odinga says he is going to seek legal action at the Supreme Court. The five-time presidential candidate called the results which handed the victory to Deputy President William Ruto a joke. Monday, August 15, the president of the Electoral Commission announced 50.59% of the votes to Ruto and 48.85% to his main opponent, Odinga. The same day, 4 of the 7 commissioners blamed Chairman Wafula Chebukati of his opaque management and lack of consultation. For the last 20 years, all Kenyan elections have been through disputes, leading sometimes to violent protests. This time around, any petition had to be submitted to the Supreme Court by the 22nd of August. The highest court has taken 2 weeks to make a decision which could lead to a new election within 60 days. For more in international news, here's a roundup.
A week after being declared second in the presidential race, Raila Odinga says he's going to seek legal action at the Supreme Court. The five-time presidential candidate called the results which handed the victory to Deputy President William Ruto a joke. Monday, the president of the Electoral Commission announced 50.49% of the votes to Ruto and 48.85% his main opponent, Odinga. The same day, 4 of the 7 commissioners blamed Chairman Wafula Chebukati for his opaque management and lack of consultation. For the last 20 years, all Kenyan elections have been through disputes, leading sometimes to violent protests. This time around, any petition had to be submitted to the Supreme Court by the 22nd of August. The highest court has then 2 weeks to make a decision which could lead to a new election within 60 days. A plane with the body of José Eduardo dos Santos landed in Luanda on Saturday night. The former Angolan president, who was in power for 38 years, died last month in Barcelona, where he lived since 2019 and was treated. The arrival in Angola of the remains of José Eduardo dos Santos puts an end to a dispute that lasted since the 8th of July. The body was handed over to his widow, Ana Paula dos Santos, after a legal battle in the Spanish courts between 2 sides of the family. The older children, namely Chise, Coreandu and Isabel dos Santos, were opposed to the body being handed over to the widow and the repatriation of the former president's remains before the elections on the 24th of August. Some Angolans were at the airport. Angola is a country that has lived through a period of great turbulence, and he is the leader who has worked for the pacification of the country. We were very sad to lose José Eduardo dos Santos. We are all Eduardistas. Our parents and husbands were from the FAPLA, and all of them were in these forces in Luanda and north of Luanda. The Angolan people were waiting for the body because José Eduardo dos Santos was the president who gave independence, freedom to our country. So I'm very happy with the arrival of the body of the former president. The urn was then taken to the former president's official residence in Luanda, where it will remain until the funeral, for which the date remains undetermined. August 28, José Eduardo dos Santos' birthday is suggested. In the final weekend leading to Angola's general elections, the ruling MPLA party held its last rally. According to the People's Movement for the Liberation of Angola, who has been in power for the last 47 years, around 600,000 people attended the meeting organized in the outskirts of Luanda. President João Lourenço, who is running for a second term, took to the stage to defend his actions since 2017 and also shared some political promises, such as boosting the electricity production and building new refineries. We have reminded you what this government has done for 5 years. Even though we had to live with a pandemic as important as the COVID-19 pandemic for half of that period. Angolans have been able to see the many new things brought up during this mandate, and that has only one meaning: the MPLA is a serious party. João Lourenço closed the last mass act, as they call it here in Angola, calling his supporters to vote. In his speech, he listed decisions taken by his government over the last 5 years without attacking his opponents.
Let's have now some sports news. In sports news tonight, Leeds United continued their unbeaten start to the season as they secured a famous win over Chelsea's no-look team with a display which will cause Thomas Tuchel nightmares. Chelsea, who spent over £170 million on players over the summer, were the architects of their own downfall in the first half. Edward Mendy gifted Leeds the opener by miscontrolling a back pass, allowing Brendan Aronson to pounce. 4 minutes later, Raheem Sterling gave away a free kick on the edge of the box, from which Rodrigo scored his fourth of the season after Jack Harrison's delivery. But Leeds also outfought their opponents, particularly in midfield, in echoes of the famous historical battles between the two rivals. And they sealed a first Premier League win over Chelsea in 7 attempts dating back to 2000, when Harrison scored after Daniel James' cross was touched to him by Rodrigo. An already raucous Elland Road was in disbelief that at that moment, the home fans taunted their Chelsea counterparts, and manager Jay's March punched the air in wild joy. There were chances for Chelsea. Sterling curled wide in the first minute and had a goal disallowed, while Mark Cucurella, signed for £62 million, was also off target twice. But when Kalidou Koulibaly was sent off 6 minutes from time for a second booking, it summed up Chelsea's afternoon, allowing Leeds fans to wallow in the elation of a superb start to the season as their team moved into third on the table. To end Camnet television news, the headlines once again. PF's Brian Mundubile calls on the UPND to have a human face when dealing with sensitive issues. Gears to challenge BOWMAN LUSAMBO and Joseph MALANJI'S eligibility to recontest elections. President Hakainde Hichilema thanks the church for supplementing government's efforts in education and health. And in international news, Kenya's RAILA ODINGA announces legal action. In sports news, Leeds continue their unbeaten start to the season as they beat Chelsea 3-0. We now look at the Camnet verse of the day, which is coming from Psalms 42 verse 8. By day the Lord directs his love, at night his song is with me, a prayer to the God of my life. Thank you once again for watching the news. My name is Jeffrey Ziambo. Good night.